friends, it's Julie from Plan to Create, and I'm here today to dive into a series all about stamping in your planner. This video is going to be super general, super like if you've never stamped before and you're wondering how to get started and what you need, then this is a good video for you to watch. If you've already been stamping in your planner for a while, you might want to skip ahead to a video where I just cover the stamps that I love and what I kind of look for in stamps, and then I am going to share another video all about inks and the colors and the type and styles of ink pads that I use. But this one is a very generic 6 product that you need to have in order to stamp in your planner, and so I'm going to go ahead and get started on that. Number 1, the very first thing that I think is important is the type of paper that you're using. I recommend 32-pound paper for anyone who wants to stamp in their planner, and I particularly use this HP Smooth presentation paper. I'll link it below. I buy it on Amazon and have it in a subscribe and save, so I kind of can get it sent to me every few months so I never run out. I love it. I print all of my inserts and test print on this, and I feel like it's very planner friendly, so I recommend that. However, it is smooth, and so if you're someone who likes a little more texture on your pages, you can find whatever works for you. There's no one kind that you have to use. I'm just saying that it's important to get the thickest that you feel comfortable using and to just go ahead and splurge on a slightly higher quality, because I think it will save you a lot of heartache in the future, because it will be really frustrating if you make a really nice looking page and then you flip it over and it has a design on it that came through the page because the inks all bled through. So this is the first thing to consider, is a really nice quality paper. Okay, so number 2, the second thing that you need in order to stamp in your planner is stamps. And obviously that's kind of a duh, Julie, but I mentioned it because I wanted to specifically say to look for quality stamps. And I don't say that to be a stamp snob, but I am going to say I have purchased sets before at Michael's, maybe even on discount, and I've been appalled, honestly, at like the quality. I can't describe it very well because these are clear, but I would say that the way that they have cut the designs into the acrylic, sometimes there isn't enough depth in between the details, and so no matter how you try, it would be almost impossible to get like a nice crisp image because they just aren't manufactured well. And that's very frustrating, and especially if you're just getting started. I totally understand you don't want to spend a lot of money, but I would say find one set that you really, really love the designs and you know you'll use on repeat, and give it a whirl, give it a test, and don't necessarily try out stamping with the cheapest set you can find. Having said that, if you want to pick a setup and it's on a really great discount and you're willing to just take the chance, you know, who knows, maybe it will work out just fine. But I just would be kind of buyer beware, because it's just a waste of money to buy a $5 set when you could spend $10 on something that would actually really give you the results that you want. And I just, from a person who, I know that stamping can be a little bit tricky at first, so I come from it like just wanting you to have the most success. And so I would just keep that in mind as you're looking for sets. If you find a really great deal at a chain store and you love it, let me know, because maybe I need to test it out and let that resource be told for other people to check out. So that's number 2. The third thing that you obviously need to stamp in your planner is some type of ink. And this is giving you a little bit of a preview to a new brand that I've just recently discovered, thanks to my friend Susanna. She recommended Pink Fresh Studios, and I love these inks. And I have this entire drawer full of inks, so I'm going to flash that photo up for you right here, and you'll see I'm open to a lot of different brands, and I love colors. But I will say that not all ink pads are created equal, so kind of do your research on that, which might include watching a future video of mine where I talk about the different ones that I have. I will say that some ink pads are spongier than others, and that's something that maybe I just have a preference. Like, I like a firmer ink pad, and I'm going to cover a little bit more and let you know which ones are firmer, which ones are not as firm, and at least the ones that I have. But a good quality ink is important, and while we're talking about ink, my biggest tip with that too that I'll share right now is that you want to select planner friendly colors. So I would steer away from like navy blues and emerald greens, and I'm not saying you have to pick super pastel colors, but kind of that middle tone to lighter is going to be a lot more successful in your planner. I'm going to pull these pages out here again, and you can see that I've chosen a blush pink and then this nice kind of coral color. And while I can see the coral a little bit better, obviously I can see the pink, but it's a little bit harder to pick up on camera. But to me, that just gives like a touch of some color. It's not overpowering. I mean, the biggest reason why I choose those colors is because they will not come through my pages, and that's important to me. I don't want to, put a navy blue 29 and have it be showing through here. it's frustrating if you have something that's really dark and it comes through to the next page. So I would just kind of keep that in mind as you're selecting inks. Like I said, I'm going to go more in depth in a future video with brands and colors that I love, but if you don't even have a chance to watch that video, just select colors that are light enough that they are not going to just naturally bleed through your pages. So number 4, you need a way to get your your stamp onto ink, onto paper, and that comes through acrylic blocks. And so what you do is you take your stamp, you peel it off the back here of your stamp set. So this was stuck here, and they stick naturally to there. And then you just peel it off, and they will naturally stick to your acrylic block. And that's how you go dot, 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 and get it onto paper. I will show you in just a second how that works, but I'm trying not to get ahead of myself. The thing I would mention about acrylic blocks is that I really do like these ones with the scalloped edges. These happen to be Lawn Fawn brand, and I also believe I have some scrapbook.com styles. They all have the scallops, and then most of them, the larger ones, have some type of a grid line. You can see that will kind of give you just a little bit of a chance to lay your stamp on there really nice and straight, and then you can, more likely to get it lined up onto your page correctly and straight as well. So those are things that I look for and like. It's not mandatory. You can definitely go and pick out a super cheap set of acrylic blocks from your chain store and probably be just fine. You do not have to upgrade to these. You can see the thickness on these are nice and thick, so it just gives a nice sense of sturdiness, and it kind of gives you more control. I have seen thinner ones that are just straight edge. I promise that you can also accomplish it with that. It's not going to make a huge difference, but to me it's a little bit more about the control and just kind of helping my hand stay steady so that I'm not rocking my stamp or just getting a weird wonky image. So I feel like these are things that help me accomplish that, but like I said, it's not like you have to buy those details. It's just kind of an added bonus. The other thing I would mention is that I love the smallest block that I can possibly use for each job. So if my stamp will fit on this small acrylic block, then that's always the one I'm going to choose. So you can see this acrylic block will go around and it will fit almost every design on this set. So I am like 100% golden using just this smaller one. The only one is this Independence Day. You can see I needed to upgrade to a slightly larger block in order to fit that. So I have my small one, bigger one. I don't think you can see all those layers. And then the Independence Day fits across this one nicely. Now I could take up Independence Day and put it on a bigger one. You can always use a bigger one, but like I'm saying, I feel like I have more control the smallest I possibly can use to get the job done. So I, for instance, have this big, huge one here. That's kind of overkill. If it's all you have, you're welcome and you can do it and you can, I'm sure, get it done well. But there's just a little bit less control when your hands are spread farther apart and you're just stamping a small image. I just like to use the smallest block I possibly can in order to get it done. Having said that, on this page here, you can see this is a stamp set, and it's obviously long and narrow. It's from this set here by the Stamp Market. It's just this little stamp along the bottom. So I did go ahead and I pulled this bigger acrylic block out, and I used that to get the image done. This is a tricky one, and I will say I don't always have good luck with that because I'm trying to get equal pressure, and you're kind of, it's a bigger space to give equal pressure to. And I think that there are techniques out there that other people could share that would help you, but I'm very, very basic with my stamping. I know just enough to get the job done, and sometimes the job is a little bit messy, but these are just tips that I would pass along to you, that obviously you need kind of a variety of acrylic blocks. Well, I say that, but also know what size of acrylic blocks you have, and then either choose your stamps accordingly, that okay, I'm buying this set and I will have a block that will cover that, or keep in mind as you're buying a set, I'm going to need a block that will work with that because I only have small circles and this one has larger rectangles and longer designs. So just something to be mindful of. I don't know which comes first, the acrylic block or the stamp set for you, but you're going to want a variety of acrylic block sizes in order to work with the variety of stamps that you select. Okay, the last 2 things that I think you need in order to successfully stamp in your planner. One of them is really optional, but it's just something I'll mention, and it's a mouse pad or some type of a squishy device underneath your paper, because it just helps cushion and it kind of helps all of the pressure, maybe not just go flat. So it's just something that I picked up over the years, and it just doesn't hurt. I can show you in a minute one with and without, and I think depending on the stamp it may not notice, but I think that the more fine details you have in your stamp, the more important it is maybe, or maybe even the more solid of the stamp it might help. I don't think July up here, I don't think it would matter. It's just something to keep in mind if you have one laying around. I'm not saying you need to purchase it, but if you had a mouse pad that you could stick under your paper, I hear it makes a better image. So let's just try it and see how that goes. And then the very last thing, number 6, is baby wipes. I use these Kirkland baby wipes, and I haven't bought this for like 5 years. They last forever if you don't have a baby. I've even actually given away like half of a box of baby wipes to someone with a baby and then kept half, and they last forever. So this is just a quick way to clean up your stamp. Every time you ink, you should wipe, because you just never want to mix and end up going from a pink to a yellow, because you will carry the ink from your stamp and you don't want to do that. So I just think it's a good practice to stamp, clean, and even if you went back to that same color again, it wouldn't hurt to go ahead and just do it again. It wouldn't have hurt to have cleaned it. It's just like a second of your time. I'm going to kind of walk you through the process here and show you some of these images on paper. I selected this color because I felt like it would show up well on camera. Too light of a color wouldn't. So this is a little bit on the darker range for me for what I use in my planner. And you'll kind of see, I'm going to explain how that kind of works. And specifically, I'm going to talk about, like, right now that this is kind of a lightly lined stamp for me in my world. So this July is lightly lined, and when I stamp it there, you do not see anything coming through the other side, right? So quickly wipe that up. But I'm going to talk about this July over here is more what I would call a solid, and this is where you need to be careful, and this is where there's no hard and fast rule. I cannot 100% say this color is totally safe in your planner, because if you use it with a really big solid image like this, you can ever so slightly see some shadowing. Now, I don't feel like that's bad. Like, I could definitely work with this. It's not bleeding through. There's no pileup of like ink on this other side, but there is a tiny bit of shadowing. I'm going to bring it up to the camera, see if you guys can kind of see it. I think you can. If I take away the background, obviously, and let light shine through, it's a little bit more, but you can see that that lightly lined one barely shows through, and anything up to light is going to show through a smidget. So I just want you to be aware of that even when I say a color is planner friendly, it really matters what stamps you're using with it. So I particularly in my planner tend to shy away a little bit from these thicker, bolder stamps, and I tend to lean towards the lightly lined. I just feel like I have more success all the way around. I don't have to be super mindful. I can use all my ink colors, but if I really wanted to do this bigger, bolder one, I would definitely select one of my lighter colored inks, like a light pink or maybe a light yellow, something that was just lighter that I really feel like wouldn't go through my page. I highly recommend always having a piece of scratch paper over on the side in your actual like nice paper. I know it seems kind of weird to do that, but you can always, like, before you actually put it in your planner, and it totally matters, you can test something out in that ink and stamp combination and know with confidence that it will or will not work on your page. That's a big recommendation I have. But meanwhile, I'm just going to show you like something like this little pool day. It's super lightly lined. Cute. And it does not come through. It doesn't shadow. I mean, you really have to look for it if you're being honest. I see that this little guy has snuck off, and I want to mention that as well. This will happen. So this, I think I keep this guy normally in a little dish on my desk because I have favorites that I just use over and over and over, and they do get dusty and dirty, and they don't stick to the sheets as well as they should after a while. So you can see like this one just pops off really easily and really quickly. There's a solution though. You can just give them a bath. You just run some water and a little bit of dish soap over it, and they'll stick just like new. I just need to do that. I haven't done it for a while. But I just wanted to mention that because it's a really good example of what you need to do and what can happen if you're not super careful in cleaning with your stamps. So I'm just gonna kind of run through some of these. Like I said, this ink is probably about the boldest ink I really use in my planner, and you can see it's just working really nice with this 32-pound paper. you really can't see. Oh, I was gonna show you, that one was with the mouse pad. Oops, that one's without. And did you see my hand kind of wiggle on that? Like, you just have to be careful. Like, I need to lay it down, maybe tap, pull away. I feel like that gets a little bit more crisp. I tend to want to, like, if you push down really hard, sometimes you can get a little bit fuzzy. It's all like in perspective, it's all fine. And then just show you here, there's just really slight shadowing that, again, really doesn't bother me. But I'm also choosing to use some of those lighter lined images. I'll just go ahead and show you another option here too to consider when you're dealing with a bigger stamp like this. Like, I oftentimes will bring the ink to the stamp instead of trying to run that across. And this one's tricky, you guys. I have a hard time because there's so much space. I tend to want to rock my acrylic block. So I'm going to try really hard to lay it down. Oh, tap, I think I rocked it. Yeah, it's okay though. It gets the concept across. It's a little bit fuzzy on the January, February side, but I think that kind of comes across. So I'm not gonna run through each and every one of these, but I think you kind of get the idea. I'll just show this one too. It's a little bit bolder. This to me like is a little bit more sunshiny, but I'm gonna just kind of show it here and let you guys see. I'd probably end up doing that more like a yellow, but I think it looks pretty good. It's obviously there's some shadowing when I lay it up to the light, but when you just have it down on the paper, there's a little bit. So like I said, this is one of the darker colors I use, plus that's a bolder stamp. So you just have to kind of play that little game of like lighter colors with these bolder stamps. And then you can use pretty much any colors with the lighter lined, except for, like I said, I'd avoid like navies and really dark colors. But I will cover a little bit more about colors in a future video. If you guys have any questions about stamp sets in particular, or about ink colors or ink brands, please ask me in the comments below because I would love to address those in the future videos. I'm going to share what I think you guys might want to hear, but if you have questions, obviously I want to cover those. So let me know. I've asked in my Facebook group too, and I'll give you guys a little shout out if you have something that you want me to address. So I think that covers today's video. The top 6 things are, in review, good quality paper, clear stamps that are of good quality, not necessarily your cheapest ones out there. Number 3, ink pads that are reliable. Number 4, acrylic blocks. Don't forget these guys, and have a variety of sizes so that you're going to be able to use the stamps that you get. Number 5, a mouse pad is kind of optional, but it doesn't hurt to have it. And last but not least, baby wipes. That's the quickest, easiest way I can think of to clean these guys. I don't know if I cleaned this one. So that covers it for today, and I look forward to sharing some more with you later. And like I said, please let me know if you have any questions. I definitely would like to address that for you. All right, take care, guys.